Every day on this channel, we highlight the myriad of ways in which liberal progressivism sows the seeds of its own destruction, how its own inherent contradictions guarantees its eventual demise. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared any of us for this.
And to all of you, and Congressman, I'll start with you, would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a...
Today, Junior?
This is, of course, a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Yeah, that was AOC and her disastrous debut on the world stage at the Munich Security Conference. And she completely, as you just saw, she completely imploded in front of the entire world. I mean, make no mistake, the happiest person on the planet right now is Kamala Harris. Good old Cackles Kamala. Cackles looks like a geopolitical genius compared to that deer in the headlights moment from AOC. Cackles can rest easy knowing she is no longer the queen of word salads. I mean, she has been dethroned. Think about the depth of incompetence one has to reach in order to outdo Cackles Kamala on her word salads. I mean, the ineptitude is breathtaking. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the classic 1986 essay On Bullshit by philosopher Harry Frankfurt. The liar knows the truth and attempts to conceal it, while a bullshitter doesn't care about the truth at all, actually has no idea of the truth, and just tries to say whatever sounds plausible at the moment. AOC clearly never gave an ounce of thought to the single most dangerous flashpoint in American foreign policy today. Not a moment's reflection regarding the single most volatile tripwire in modern geopolitics. But I don't think her answer was pure bullshit. She clearly had no idea of what to say. So truth didn't matter to her. So she tried to say whatever platitudes came to her mind. But I don't think this was pure bullshit, because I do believe she was clearly trying to hide something there. She knew something and she tried to hide it. And what was it? It was the fact that she knew nothing at all about the subject. And I mean literally nothing at all. There were so many angles she could have gone there. She could have referenced the Taiwan Relations Act, what's known as the TRA from 1979, Jimmy Carter, that legally commits the United States to providing Taiwan with defensive arms and maintain the capacity to resist any use of force that threatens the island's security. She could have invoked nearly 5 decades of what's called strategic ambiguity. That is the deliberate policy of refusing to say whether the United States would militarily intervene. And the important point in that is it's designed to simultaneously deter China from attacking, because China doesn't know if we'll respond or not, but it also serves to deter Taiwan from provoking a conflict with China, right? So if the United States were to say, oh yeah, we'll definitely intervene, oh you bet, we'll send American troops in a heartbeat, what that could cause Taiwan to act recklessly and belligerently towards China. Right. So that's that's strategic ambiguity. Or she could have pointed out to the recent shift towards strategic clarity under Joe Biden, where he stated at least 4 separate occasions that the U.S. would defend Taiwan militarily. That was a historic departure that reframed the entire debate. Was that right? Was that wrong? The point is, she didn't know any of that. And she suddenly realized that the entire world was about to find out what a sham she really is. That there she is at the Munich Security Conference, one of the most important, international NATO-based security conferences, and she's about to show she knows nothing about international relations or geopolitics. And if she showed that on the world stage, that's a bit of a career killer when your goal is running for the highest office in the land. And so that embarrassment, that deer in the headlights sustained stutter that you just heard, fell in between bullshit and a lie. She bullshitted meaningless, incoherent talking points that she hoped would sound good to the progressive audience in a blatant attempt at covering up the fact that she knew she had no idea about what she was talking about. But if you could believe it, the public humiliation didn't stop there. It only ended up getting worse.
We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And by the way,
now you'll note that was a double embarrassment. That wasn't just AOC humiliating herself on the world stage. It was also those clapping progressive seals demonstrating their geographic illiteracy as well. It didn't take long before social media exploded in laughter, pointing out that not 1 square inch of Venezuela falls below the equator. Not 1 square inch. That's AOC trying to go full woke, accusing Trump of racist policies against Latinos, only to have that woke rant blow up in her face. And if you could believe, I could go on and on. It kept getting worse. She confused Spain and Mexico when it comes to the history of cowboys. She was actually publicly reprimanded for her tax the rich policy advocacy by a diplomat from Argentina who reminded her that his nation tried that and it was a disaster, as it was for Venezuela. This was supposed to be her moment when the Democrats' brightest star got put under the spotlight on the world stage, and instead the whole world watched her completely flame out. By contrast, the entire world watched a rising star in the new MAGA Republican Party, and what he did left European leaders absolutely speechless. Now, did you know that Alzheimer's isn't waiting for old age anymore? It's spreading, it's accelerating, and it's showing up decades earlier. Early onset dementia and Alzheimer's are on the rise. Reports show a 373% increase in diagnoses among 30 to 44-year-olds and a 311% increase in 45 to 54-year-olds in the United States in recent years. But when doctors attempt to treat these brain diseases, they often focus on medicating the brain itself, addressing symptoms like Band-Aid rather than solving the root cause. Alzheimer's disease is driven by chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, which damages brain cells and triggers the buildup of toxic proteins. Now, these same destructive processes fuel neurodegeneration, cognitive decline, and even increase cancer risk, yet they're rarely the primary target of treatment. The root cause of many brain disorders is found in the gut microbiome. Groundbreaking research now links gut bacteria directly to Alzheimer's disease and shows that what we consume plays a defining role in not just cognitive but overall health as well. Numerous studies suggest that the number one thing you can do to combat these chronic diseases is to consume kimchi. There's so many bioactive compounds in kimchi that have been found to improve cognitive and memory function by targeting amyloid beta. That's the main sign of Alzheimer's disease that forms those sticky plaques in the brain. Notably, these same protective mechanisms are linked to reduce cancer risk, with kimchi's ability to suppress carcinogen activating enzymes. So that's why Brightcore created Kimchi One. It delivers all the benefits of real kimchi in convenient capsules. No taste, no smell, and no GMO. 100% made right here in the United States. Today you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below for 25% off your entire order, or for the best deal available, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off plus free shipping. You'll love them. Call them now at 888-597-0233. That's 888-597-0233. Call them right now.
Conference put on full blast the fact that we've only got one adult political party in the United States right now, and it's the Republican Party. Marco Rubio gave the speech of a lifetime over there. He laid out a clear foreign policy vision that defends Western values and Western civilization. And the brightest Democrat over there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, crapped the bed, okay? She wants to be president, she wants to run, and she's one of the most popular Democrats and gave one of the most embarrassing performances you could possibly do. Gretchen Whitmer, one of the governors that Bakari is touting, said she knows even less about foreign policy than AOC, and Gavin Newsom has repeatedly embarrassed himself every time he's gone to one of these international conferences, whether it was Davos a few weeks ago or Munich. He can't even rebuild a single house in the Palisades in Los Angeles. In California, people are running out of there like crazy right now. The bottom line is this: these international conferences have been a disaster for Dems, and they have showed Republicans, in the name of Marco Rubio this time around, to be adults who have a clear-eyed view of what the United States has to do in the future.
That's a cluster of truth bombs getting dropped by Scott Jennings. There is literally no way around this. If Munich was an unprecedented embarrassment for the Democrats, it was an utterly epic triumph for Republicans. Secretary of State Marco Rubio took the stage and delivered what many are calling a historic speech that laid out the Trump administration's new civilizationalist vision for the West. Rubio framed the transatlantic alliance not in the liberal internationalist language of rules-based orders or institutional norms, but in explicitly civilizationalist terms, calling on Europe and America to rediscover their shared heritage rooted in Western civilization. That's a rhetorical move that effectively conceded the civilizationalist premise that cultural identity, not procedural liberalism, is the true foundation of geopolitical solidarity.
Under President Trump, the United States of America will once again take on the task of renewal and restoration, driven by a vision of a future as proud, as sovereign, and as vital as our civilization's past. And while we are prepared, if necessary, to do this alone, it is our preference and it is our hope to do this together with you, our friends here in Europe. For the United States and Europe, we belong together. America was founded 250 years ago, but the roots began here on this continent long before. The men who settled and built the nation of my birth arrived on our shores carrying the memories and the traditions and the Christian faith of their ancestors as a sacred inheritance, an unbreakable link between the old world and the new. We are part of one civilization, Western civilization. We are bound to one another by the deepest bonds that nations could share, forged by centuries of shared history, Christian faith, culture, heritage, language, ancestry, and the sacrifices our forefathers made together for the common civilization to which we have fallen heir.
This is the new multipolar world that's rising that we talk about every day on this channel. In a world where China, Russia, India, the Islamic world are all organizing around civilizational identities, Rubio made it absolutely clear that the West can no longer afford the luxury of pretending it doesn't have one. What makes this so remarkable is that it came from the sitting U.S. Secretary of State. And that suggests that civilizationalism is no longer a dissident academic thesis, but is migrating into the operational grammar of American foreign policy itself. From liberal internationalism to a rising civilizational cosmocracy that I'm actually writing a book on as we speak. Again, by contrast, AOC kept referring to the rules-based order. I kid you not. She kept referring to this liberal internationalist rules-based order. Check it out for yourself.
I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability. And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we look the other way for inconvenient populations to act out these paradoxes.
Again, not only is she now the reigning queen of the incoherent word salad, I mean, again, what you just heard there literally makes Biden sound coherent. But she's living in a world that no longer exists. There are a number of scholars who have all realized that the liberal international order is dead. It's literally gone extinct. And yet she's acting like it's still a viable option for international relations. I mean, it's beyond absurd. And so it's no wonder that as of today, many in the media are openly saying that if AOC is the nominee in 2028, even as VP, the GOP will have hit the jackpot. The Vance-Rubio ticket is almost assured, which means that 2028 may turn out to make 2024 look like a warm-up act. As Scott Jennings noted, the GOP demonstrated for all the world to see in Munich that the grown-ups are truly back in charge. And if Munich proved anything, the grown-ups are here to stay.